about books, we were talking about writing. So definitely I have an author with me, but this author also helps you to heal because he is also a psychologist. And the book he has written, which is right now right here with me, which releases today on a very significant date, which is 10/10/2020. Does that affect your brains? Because yes, everything inside the book is going to do that. Because this psychologist is not going to give you big lingos, big medical lingos. He is going to tell you simple stories, human stories, acting practices, and heal you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome the amazingly talented and renowned psychologist Sumit Chatterjee. And Sumit, in the pandemic times, I'm the only one, probably because we are online, I'm the only one clapping for you. Hi, welcome. So, first of all, this is a great thing that I guess I'm the first one holding this book, and it thrills me. It's amazing. And before we move on to the deeper discussion of this book, I'd like to share this one experience with everybody who is online right now. I read it somewhere that if a boy fractures his leg, you do not just say, "Oh, it's nothing, get up, run, you'll feel good." That's very insensitive, right?
Right.
Similarly, if a person is not feeling mentally well, if that person is not feeling, if that person is feeling anxious, irritated, and everything that is not right, you just don't tell that person, "Oh, it's nothing, get up, bug up, go for shopping, go to office." You just don't say that. That's again very insensitive. And for the longest period of time, people had this notion that psychologists and psychiatrists are for crazy people like me. Like my mom always says that you are born crazy. So for crazy people. But what will those people do who are actually feeling unwell from inside? And when I say inside, I'm not talking about your body, I'm talking about your mind. Right now, Sumit, it's a very special day on which your book is releasing because it's the World Mental Health Day. And on 2020, I believe after this huge pandemic, which is still continuing, just the lockdown is over, I think people's brains are hugely affected. How aware do you think people are that we are not celebrating, but actually we are focusing on a day called World Mental Health Day? What is your opinion? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's powerful. I like the fact that you pointed out the numbers as well. I didn't recognize 10/10/2020. That's powerful. And yeah, the thing about it is like mental health is such an important aspect of each of our lives, and I almost feel like it's become the calling card of the 21st century in a sense. So in a way, we have to start to change our paradigm of what we think of as mental health.
Right.
You see, we treat mental health nowadays, it's like, oh, just download an app, just take a pill, it's like we're treating it like a Band-Aid solution, whereas it's something much more long-term, and we need a lot more depth. Back in the day, they talked about archetypes and symbols and, all of these dreams, all of these things that are so vast. But nowadays, we like the quick fix mentality, the magic pill mentality. And I think that first and foremost has to change if we are going to evolve into a new paradigm of mental health.
Exactly. Absolutely. And Sumit, what I believe is that people are gradually becoming aware. Though, as you very rightly said, that some people are using it quite, to meet their own financial ends. Those quick apps and quick solutions and quick music. There is no quick solution to mental health. Being an anchor, I know I'm cheating on this because you guys will get to read it a little later. But being an anchor, I got to already read it a bit. And what I realize is that it's a whole process. Like when doctors tell you that, if you want a good life, you have to change your lifestyle, and it's a lifelong process. Mental health is also a lifelong process,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Sumit, let's start off with you and your book. And this really interests me because we know Sumit as he has done his master's in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology from London. But what really allures me is that this thing, you did your BA in liberal arts with concentration in psychology from USA. So, liberal arts and psychology, they are like, North Pole and South Pole. How did you, and I think this book that we are talking about today, Theatroplasticity Method, is somewhere a union between the two. How did you reach here? How did the idea of writing this book come into your mind? And, the educational background that you have, how did you merge the two to get here?
Right. So I feel the liberal arts actually gave me an opportunity to explore different subjects, right? So I could take theater classes as well as psychology classes.
Okay.
So that's where I was making the initial overlap. It was actually my thesis paper in college was authenticity versus role play.
Okay.
So it has everything to do with this book currently that I've already thought of it back then in college. And so basically what I was looking at is two areas that transformed my life. Theater, being on stage, I was in the flow. Time stopped for me, nothing else mattered. I was on stage, my ego fell away. I was in the moment, and I felt that. And it changed me. I felt something shifting as I remembered that, oh, there's a camera on me, or there's an audience watching me, in a sense. Something inside of me shifted. And I'm always curious about this fake it till you make it approach. And so from there, then I started to explore psychology in the mind. But it's so deep. The mind is such a vast place, and a lot of psychology has a negativity bias all these years. So I went into positive psychology later on. But I always had this kind of remix approach. I was very into hip hop, so I always had this kind of Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee approach of just like taking elements from everything and combining it and really making something that works as a process, like you said. And so that's what really sparked my interest. I noticed it working for me as a tool to imagine myself as a character in a movie, and also it helped a lot of my friends and peers and people who I saw suffering during college time. So it was primarily one of those things that I decided that, okay, it can help me. I sort of went on that hero's journey. Then I came back with the elixir of life, which is this. Yeah.
So, Sumit, who do you think are the real target audience for this book? As you said, your college peers, because that's a very transformative age where people suffer from a lot of questions that's brimming inside them, or the adolescent people, or the old age. Who do you think are the target audience? Is the target audience?
I feel like this book can be for anybody who wants to become their best self. That's just as straight as I can put it. It's like our phones have an iOS upgrade. Why don't we have a mindset upgrade, in a sense, right? So this is a tool that can be used for anybody. And also, I would say it's helpful for adolescents who are trying to come into their own identity, who they are. It's also great for people who have midlife crisis, who are trying to figure out, like maybe they have a bit of existential dread in a sense. Or for just generally people who are dreamers, who can't really make the ethereal material. They can't really take the ideas and put them into action. So dreamers who do.
Sumit, we have, more or less got an idea, but I'd still ask you to cite an example.
Okay.
Like, just if you could give us one example of how to, put this dramatic or acting skill into the process of healing. Any one example?
Sure. So I'll use the example of the V effect. This is a distancing effect by Bertolt Brecht initially, okay? So what they do is they remind people that you're watching a play. So it breaks that fourth wall in a sense, and it's just like, hey, we're watching a play right now. If I had a placard, it would break that initial tension or that seriousness. And so that form of release is a great way to be able to access that. So you could use it in a particular way. Let's say that your friend is complaining to you.
Okay.
right? And her story, you know, she's like telling you about all this bad stuff that's happening, and you start to feel her energy. And you start to feel bad about yourself.
Right.
Because of chemo signaling, because of whatever, right? She's in your environment, and you start to feel her energy. So now, what you can do using TPM is you can distance yourself and understand, okay, they're just reading me their storybook of their own life. They're acting in their plan, in their own movie. This has nothing to do with me. So it can help us not take things as personally when we start to use this distancing effect.
Right.
So that's one example.
So you think it's a conscious effort when we keep these woes away from us? Okay, that person is crying, so that is not my. You know, that's like a movie that's happening on screen. 3 hours over, the movie is over, the pain is like.
And it's not in an insensitive way, right? It's like, oh, I'm intrigued now. Tell me your perspective of what you think is happening. And it creates this genuine kind of connection, but you don't get overly wrapped up in the other people's drama, you could say.
Right. You just know where to, you know, put that barricade. Okay.
Yeah.
So, one question that was always popping up in my mind. First of all, I just love the cover. It pop man's head, which is made of popcorns. Oh, that's lovely. And what are these movie tickets?
Movie tickets, right?
Oh, lovely. If you know, mental health could be treated this joyfully, I think everybody would be smiling throughout the world. So tell me something. Theatroplasticity method. The name is quite big. I'll call it TPM. Why this name?
So initially I was going to call it neurotheatrics. I decided someone was doing a workshop on neurotheatrics. I was like, man, I want to come up with another name, something catchy, an acronym. I came across this aspect of neuroplasticity. Our brains are malleable. They change based on habits. So repetition actually breeds a change. It makes us different in some way. So the things that we do over and over again, we have like 60 to 7,000 thoughts, and so in a day. And so, you know, those are mostly 90% of those are learned responses, you know, in a certain way. So TPM, the theatroplasticity method, is how you can use theater techniques and tools to adapt the brain, to change the brain. Just like neuroplasticity changes the brain, we can actually act it till we fact it, in a sense. And that hardwires us to be able to step into a new character or a new personality, in a sense.
Right. So to me, I think the next question I'll not, I'll not go with the list. I'll ask something that's coming up in my mind right now. One, the adolescent or the aged people, both.
Yeah.
They become very sensitive. They just lose their temper at any moment or whatever. So basically, they are very sensitive people. And one thing I can tell you that after this pandemic, like each one of us throughout the world have become sensitive and overthinkers. We are like always anxious, always overthinking, always sensitive, and about to burst out. What will you tell them? Like, how can TPM help them?
So first thing that I would say is that, a lot of excessive thinking or overthinking, I feel like, is underthinking. We haven't solved the problem yet, and so we're on this kind of search. It's like a Google search that's looking for the answers. And a lot of that is because we suppress our feelings. We don't express ourselves, we hold it in, and it becomes like a volcano that's waiting to erupt. So we have to unleash that dormant part of ourselves that's truly pure and internal to us. And also, for the people who are getting very wrapped up in this, or maybe they're getting oversensitive, you want to actually desensitize yourself to certain events that are happening, right? Let's say you said, hey, I'm nervous to talk to a random stranger. Now you did that 70 times. You're not nervous to talk to people anymore. You've said it, you've broken that code, in a sense. And so that's one way. Second way is this, I'll give you a technique from the book, okay? So there's this technique called Conscience Alley. Okay, we use it in theater a lot. So imagine, like, you can also do this with your friends, by the way. If you have a group of friends, you can try this out. So have one group of friends on this side, and another group of friends on this side, so left and right. On the left side, you want your friends to hurl insults at you. Make them say the worst possible thing that perturbs you, that makes you feel like absolutely the worst person on the planet, right? Make them mock you, make them ridicule you on one side. On the other side, have your friends cheer you on, over compliment you, right? Give you lots and lots of verbal acknowledgments and, start clapping for you, applauding for you. Now what you want to do is walk through the middle path of those two dualities, right? And you can also do this as a mental technique. So you can imagine if you close your eyes and just imagine that I'm walking through in a neutral space and I'm looking at the extremes, but I'm still keeping my cool. I'm still keeping my composure. And I know what the two extremes are, but I'm making the choice to step into that neutrality. And that's where the magic happens.
Right, that's beautiful. Okay, so once you told us this method, which is like very much applicable, but the thing is that after this pandemic has hit us, we have just seen that you can't really have 20 friends in one room and have 10 and 10 like that. So and we are isolated. Our jobs, our careers, everything is at stake. We are suffering from little children who find so much fun going to schools. They have like nothing to do. I mean, the whole world is missed. How can TPM help them? What special remedy will you pick up from there and offer the people?
Right. So in a sense, we have this thing called life script in one of the chapters, and basically it's about you writing the story or writing the play or the movie, script writing your own life. Right? So you're pre-planning it, you're premeditating what's going to happen in your life.
Right.
It's like keeping a quantum journal in a sense. You're planning out what is going to happen in the future. And as you do that, you want to reframe this time right now, this lockdown period, as almost going into a monk-like state of internal exploration and a sense of, you're not stuck at home, you're safe at home in a sense. You want to look at this situation that you're in a positive way. So this is the refresh button on society right now.
Absolutely.
And so how we frame it in our minds, is it loneliness or is it freedom?
Yeah.
Am I fear of missing out or joy of missing out? We have to start exploring different alternatives and actually ways to connect.
Am I about to lose a job, or is this a new opportunity for a business I've been thinking for?
Absolutely, and also in the plague, the time, that's where the greatest inventions happened. Recession is where millionaires are made, and so this is actually a time.
The mother of invention.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Okay. So thank you. Like that was really very empowering. Like when I was listening to him, I haven't tried many of the methods that I read in the book. But it was too early to just try everything out right there. But I already feel very calm because everybody I know is in a state of panic right now for the last almost like 6-7 months, whatever is we are going through.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something? There's this particular chapter on voice modulation, and we all know people who have been, people who have participated in theaters or acting courses or anything close to that. Voice modulation is very important. So, how does voice modulation technique, which is an important part of acting, become a part of your medical process?
Right.
How can it help us?
Yeah. So as a child, I loved to watch cartoons. And I would mimic voices of some of my teachers, even I mimic their voices, or I would see cartoons and try to impersonate. And as children, we learn through imitation, and that's how we learn. And so that's where I got the acting bug. I felt like I was mimicking a lot of voices, doing a lot of theater sports in a sense, right? And so, in a sense, what was the question that you just mentioned?
Like, how can voice modulation be used for healing?
So, voice is extremely important, okay? Just like, let's say two people are fighting, okay? You're coming from anger, the other person is coming from anger. It's like fire and fire. So one person has got to be water. Otherwise, it's going to cause a wildfire.
Absolutely.
Right? So the tonality actually changes in interaction, how we speak. A lot of us, we speak in. We need to speak out a lot of times. Introverts, they speak into themselves, right? It's like in their own internal world. So this is also a tool for introverts to actually become a lot more extroverted. I taught myself to be more extroverted. You can vouch, people listening to me, I used to be a very shy, quiet kid, Yeah, as you're saying.
No, please continue. You were
Yeah, so
asking.
as I was saying, for the voice and sound, there's many different techniques. I'll give you one technique from the book, which is pitch range, okay? So when you speak to yourself in your own mind in a high pitch, like a cartoon, we don't take it as seriously. We take it as very joking, and it cuts any kind of tension immediately. So if you're saying, I'm not good enough, if you listen to your own voice saying, I'm not good enough, it's like, who is this pipsqueak in my voice like telling me this? I'm not good enough. What do you mean? It's like, you start to alter the pitch of your own internal voice.
Okay.
And also similarly, let's say you could change it to a lot more of a deeper voice in events where you want to sound a lot more serious.
So let's say, Sumit, from the idea that I got from you, like for example, if I'm very depressed and there's this deep voice that's telling me my life is over, my life is over. So I have to suddenly change it to I can try to make it into a comic voice. My life is over, my life is over, and it sounds so funny. My life is just not over.
Right, and it makes it seem like a tiny little ant or something is saying that to you, right? And you're like, no, it's not over. You're a little flea compared to what my potential is, It's sort of taking, because we associate very high-pitched voices with a sense of they're, it's a sense of almost like
if you're imagining George Clooney's voice telling you, you have to study, exams are coming.
yeah.
So it's like serious issue. You have to study now.
I don't know what the right word is. It's not submission. It's just it's this ability, like when we hear a very high-pitched tone, it's like we don't take it as seriously. I think look back to your last 24 hours of your day. Probably at a certain point you've been taking life way too seriously.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is a technique to stop us from going deep into that gravitas, that seriousness, and just break us using humor. Humor is also one of the techniques and it's so important to get us to laugh because that's a release. And it changes our state and our vibration and our energy, right?
Yeah. That's very true. Okay, so now I'll get back to one of the points that you mentioned earlier, that for example, students or adolescent people who are still developing their characters, who are still evolving as human beings, as a person, they can use the technique to be on the right path, or to not have those frustrations, those adolescent year frustrations. So how do you think TPM can help them? How exactly?
So yeah, they've got to start exploring their character, okay? And they've got to go on a process of trying to understand and looking at themselves as a character on screen and really assigning traits and looking at their own values in a sense to create their ultimate character, right? Because ultimately we're not trying to get that raise or trying to, get that, partner. It's more about how your character shifts so you can allow those things into your life.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So it's about that, their ability to be able to shape themselves and choose the right tools that can allow themselves to do that, in a sense. And TPM has, many various tools that, I can share with you. Like, for instance, one of the tools that I'm reminded of is the sense of power posing, right? So Amy Cuddy talks about this. It raises testosterone, lowers your cortisol levels. So high CEOs or people, they power pose. It's like the Shah Rukh Khan pose in a sense, right? And that actually shifts, our physiology shifts the way that we're dealing with our thoughts, our emotions, and the actions that we take, just by a shift in our physiology and our state changes. And so from there, we can start understanding that, okay, how can I design my best self in a way? And it's about not living life by, default. That you've been socially conditioned to be a specific kind of person, right? And so this is giving you the tool to actually be like, okay, how can I live a life by my own design? How can I be the dramaturg or the director, movie director of my own life? And am I being the extra in other people's movies? Or am I being the hero in my own movie? So it's about that self-reliance in a sense as well.
Right.
It's not about
So
going with the flow.
as you said in the beginning, to be your best self. That is the aim. So here, actually, they are not imitating; they are becoming their best self.
Right.
Okay.
I was about to say that, it's not about going with the flow, it's about being the flow, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to conform to this idea. It's like I'm actively creating this version of it, and I'm stepping into that role. Yeah.
Okay. So when you mention this flow, Sumit, you are also a flow state coach.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that relate to TPM?
Right. So, the flow state is all about feeling your best and performing your best. You feel a sense of yourself fade away. Time stops for you, nothing else matters. It gives you a lot of focus. And being on stage did that for me, honestly. Like when I was performing, I was like, I forget everything. Sometimes I didn't forget my lines, but that's why I love improv. It's like the sense of like, there's always this pocket of energy that you can tap into. And that's the flow state, essentially.
Okay.
So flow state is actually one of the gateways towards happiness.
Okay.
Right? And so if
you're
you're more in flow, you're more happy. Yeah.
No, yeah. So what I was trying to ask is that is it only about theater or any performing art? Like let's say there is a violin player or a guitarist or a singer or a dancer. Like when they perform and then just get into that mode of and that meditative space of performance.
Right.
Do you call that flow as well?
Yes.
Is that flow as well?
Yeah, it's in the deep present joy, right? It's the sense of like you're in it and in the moment. So as you're playing a violin, maybe you want to tap into the idea of like, how would you see yourself playing a violin in the movie screen, right? So you're still using that analogy of theater or being on a movie screen, but then you're applying your own intuitive, talents and things like that to it. So let's say you're a volleyball player, and you're imagining like, what would the ideal volleyball player version of me, use this, and using flow as a catalyst, as a vehicle to get you from point A to point B. That's what flow state helps you. It helps you to increase your productivity and your creativity and your motivation. All these things rise, they bump up, right? So I feel that, by allowing yourself to use these techniques and getting in the flow state, it's giving you an edge over your competitors and an edge over, being able to, even yourself, right? Because we are our own competition most of the time. We are our own competition, and so we have to constantly tackle this old version of ourselves, which is technically the younger version of ourselves, right? So that version of ourselves needs that love, that compassion at times too. So it's important for us to heal, and to do that, we've got to acknowledge what we're feeling, accept it, but then we allow ourselves to transform and say, being myself, I've tried that, but the authentic version of me, like this is something that I always struggled with. I was like, man, if I'm acting confident, it feels fake. Right?
Yeah.
It feels fake to me. It's not genuine, and there's this sense of like inauthenticity.
Yeah, that was exactly
right?
my next question. That Aristotle always called it the imitation of an imitation.
Right.
So if we are imitating something or someone, I mean, it's always good, when we are in school or in college or even in primary school, we are taught about the great people in the world. The great leaders, the great, so that we follow them, we learn the good things. Now you are saying, you have to have this someone whom you can follow and not go with the flow, but go with the right flow and be your best self. So, is it not curbing the natural flow of a person?
It's a very good question, and I've gotten this question a lot actually. So I've actually given myself almost a thought experiment in terms of this. So what if the version you're being right now, maybe a little bit doubtful, right? We have our insecurities. Maybe that version of us isn't the real version of us. Maybe the version of us who is a lot more confident, or who we prefer to be, let's say, the person that we actually prefer to be is our real self. What if that's our most authentic version? You see what I'm saying? So flipping the script is also one of the techniques in TPM, right? So we want to understand, like, okay, the confident me, the version of me that has all that money, has all that, quote unquote success, whatever that means to you personally, it differs, is the real me. And it's not this version that I'm being. Maybe I'm being smaller, I'm being a smaller version of myself, and I could be so much more. So, in a sense, it's not about, imitating, it's about, first of all, accepting who you are, and acknowledging, like, you can't deny what is already there, it's a fact. And so what we do as human beings, we take a fact and we put a judgment over that fact, and then we put an assumption over the judgment over the fact, and we make mountains out of molehills. So when you look at the facts of your life, where you are currently, where you are right now, and then you decide like, okay, how can I change this in some way? Then you're going from that breakdown period. There has to be a catalysis, right? A breakdown where you have that dark night of the soul. You know, you break yourself down, you break your ego down, and so then we can build it back up again. So, you know, just because it's this building of your ultimate self, it's not taking away from where you are right now. You have to acknowledge that in order for you to actually start building the foundation and the self-love, the gratitude, all of that on top of that to create a sturdy cathedral or building, right? So that's what I would say in terms of that. So start small, be authentic towards yourself, but then don't limit yourself to one role. We have infinite possibilities in this universe, you know, and we often limit ourselves to like two options. Is it good or is it bad? Is it right or is it wrong? We get into this all or nothing mentality, or, you know, this kind of fixed versus growth mindset. But then there's another kind of mindset, which is the no mind, which is the flow. So first of all, you're going to have to go from negative mind to positive mind, then to neutral mind, and then to flow. Then it's more accessible.
Negative to positive
to neutral, and then to
neutral
flow.
to flow. Okay.
In a sense, yeah.
So I think Sumit inspiring us like that won't really, you know, we are all enjoying this session so much, but this won't only help. You have to read the book, and actually, you know, it's written that, you know, I always believe whatever you write a book about, whether it's about psychology, it's about the mountains, it's about the camel, it's about the cat in your garage. The most important.
That cat, you know. We all know that cat. Like it's right there.
The most important thing is, I think when it comes to a book, it may or may not be a page turner, but the writing has to be good. You know, it has to really catch, and it has to be like gripping. And what I found in this book, though I haven't yet completed it, I think it wasn't like a psychological, you know, sermon, but it was like a very easy and nice flow. And since, you know, it's theater and psychology all mingled, and this is a beautiful process that you can identify with, because, you know, someday or the other we have all done that. Okay, so we are almost here. I'm almost here to ask my last question, but before that, I think my amazing audience who have been so riveted to this particular session, they have thrown a lot of questions in the comment section. And if I could ask my team to, you know, collect some of the amazing, or if we could, get the laptop.
Take off the mic for a second. Whoever wants to, ask any questions.
Okay, so we'll all move forward and actually.
Let's engage with the audience.
Engage with the audience. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So, and where's the book? Yes, TPM is right here. And let's say, congratulations, Sumit, for this amazing creation in the form of this book.
Anurima, you're in mute. We cannot hear you. Can you please unmute?
Okay, sure.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's go. Come get here.
I got it. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free to
So
ask.
first of all, Sumit has got too many congratulations, and he has something to tell you. For all the congratulations and love they're showering on you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. You know, I appreciate the love, the gratitude, all the kind words. And yeah, thank you for being so patient with us. And, you know, I want to also shout out to, you know, a lot of my mentors. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. You know what I mean? I've trained with a lot of people. You know, my business coach, Joe Nicasio, as well as, you know, some of my teachers. You know, I've shouted them out. I've actually dedicated this to a lot of them. And so, We have, Miss Annie Millard, who was my drama teacher in high school, David Anderegg, who was my supervisor in college, Dina Janis, who was a drama faculty in Bennington, and also Jean Randage, who was also faculty. Itai Istvan, he taught me to embrace mindfulness in a greater depth, as well as, Dr. Tim Lomas, who is faculty at UEL as well. So, thank all these people and, their incredible contributions to this book and inspiring me, as well as my friends, my relatives, my everybody who supports me. So thank you so much for that, and of course Story Mirror for publishing.
Yes, that's
and you, Anurima.
Thank you. Welcome. Like I said, thank you instead of welcome, because I think each one of us are somewhere or the other a little psychologically tormented. Something or the other has happened to each one of us, and there is always something to make us smile. And Sumit, keep writing such books, and your next one should be even more deep in analyzing crazy people like me. Okay, so on mental health, Rashmi Malapur has said it's time that we combine different streams of studies and come up with something like what Sumit has done. Wonderful work. Thank you so much, Rashmi. That was really sweet and encouraging. Okay. And let's say if we have, there is Shopnonil Chatterjee, who is congratulating Sumit for this fantastic book and saying, yeah, we all know that it's going to be a game changer.
Game changer, like
game changer. Game changer of all who expect a better living. Stay blessed and successful. Thank you so much. So, Madhurya Chatterjee is saying, what a beautiful name, Madhurya, yeah. A wonderful book with exclusive vivid techniques for better living. Stay blessed to gift us with more authentic guidance of higher living experience. That's exactly the term we were searching for, higher living experience. Yeah,
higher living, yeah.
That's really nice. Okay, and let's say if there are questions. Where can we get the book? On which platform? Now that's your question, Sumit.
Yeah, so this will be available on Amazon, and as well as people who want to also order it from the Story Mirror website, they can do it from there. And yeah, the best way to do it is from Amazon, to be honest with you.
Amazon Kindle or Amazon? They can even have the paperback version.
Paperback, yeah. Paperback.
Okay, so you can have the paperback version. Because I think books of psychology are something that is not to be read in the Kindle version, because Sumit will tell, it's not good to, see your mobile or your Kindle version right before you sleep, so read the book.
Right, and after, 3 months or so, I'll possibly have, Kindle version, audiobook, ebook, all that stuff. So, it'll be nice, yeah.
Great. Okay, let's move on to our next. There are so many good comments. Thank you so much, each one of you. And congrats, Sumit. Most impressive intro to the book, which I'm definitely gonna buy and read. J Uncle, Dibojoti Bhodro. Thank you so much, Uncle. And we have Manavar Hussain, who says, congratulations, Sumit, for this amazing creation in the form of this book. Anurima says, can you tell me anything about criminal psychology, why they are criminals?
Very interesting. So, I feel that it goes very deeply into personality, in a sense, right? There's certain character traits. There's like the dark triad of personality. Like the Machiavellian, or let's say a tyrant, right, would have a certain kind of mindset that in their own mind, they're thinking what they're doing is very highly valuable, right? What in their mind, they feel like they're not committing a crime. They're living life according to their own way or their own means, but that might be breaking the law, or that might be, going against the norm or the standard approach. So there's a fine line between this kind of, you want to be rebellious, but you don't want to be so rebellious that you're, breaking the laws of the land, in a sense, you know what I mean? And so the thing is, like, even in terms of, forensic psychology and criminal psychology, what I really start to look at is all those characters that you think of as like villains, in movies, and really start to explore the kind of depth that they have. Because sometimes those characters, we start to get these characters that are like barons, or like they they have this lovable approach to them too. It's like they're dark criminal characters, but we feel a sense of humanness to them, and that can be quite, manipulative and dangerous and deceptive in a certain way. So it's really about exploring in terms of, the different characters and different character archetypes. So we all have a shadow self. We all have a dark side in a sense, and so we have to fully integrate that dark side and hug it out and be able to say that, yeah, I do have a side of me, that likes to get my own needs met, that might be manipulative at times to others or whatever, right? We have the side of us that is kind of like this dark side, and the Sith and the Jedi have to join hands now within our own internal worlds and just, be able to bring that together. Psychology, the whole process of psychology is just purely integration, bringing together the dark and the light together, and just having that perfect yin yang balance. Light green. What did you say? Light green.
No, I said bring the dark and the light together, make the light rain.
I see. I like that. Make the light rain.
So, ladies and gentlemen, since this question has already come up about the criminal psychology, I would like to just add on that TPM really is, I think, very relevant. This question is very relevant, and this book is very relevant in this occasion, because as we all know, jails are not called jails anymore. They are called correctional homes, right? And often we have seen that, because, what is TPM about? This is not just any psychological book where, you get to, okay, you need to do this much of exercise, you need to look here and there and eat this and that. This is about how you can use theatrical practices and acting skills and everything that you relate to in drama to feel good, motivate yourself, cure yourself. So that's what they exactly do, because I've been to, to some research projects where I've seen in correctional homes, they actually do these kind of group theaters, motivational group theaters, to actually enlive in their spirit and make them understand that you can actually change.
Right.
To bring the good, side out of them.
Yeah, and I also want to mention that, now they're introducing meditation, and mindfulness into a lot of correctional facilities. So, the world is definitely shifting. There is a shift happening, a conscious shift, where people are being able to now, they're able to now see, the fact that we want to go and understand ourselves, or know thyself. It's just the common, thing combining East and West. Know thyself, and maybe we might have much more of a shame-based approach of I did something wrong in terms of the identity, or a guilt-based approach of what I did was wrong, or the action that I took was wrong, right? We have this ego or this identity, but then we also have the actions that we're taking that might, make us in a certain way and shape us in a certain way. So, this book is fully evidence-based. I've done a lot of research, and
in fact, I forgot to mention there are 14 case studies at the end of the book, right?
Yeah.
There are 14 case studies, and I think case studies are very interesting. You just don't want to hear about theories; you want to know the practical.
All confidential, by the way. All names have been changed. Don't worry about if you're on here, if you're, counseling with me or anything. Yeah.
Okay, so but this is a very interesting question by Anirban Beda, who says, do you believe that we all have an inner person?
An inner person. That's interesting. One of the tools in TPM is we create our own inner character or inner critic, and we start to create the character in a sense. So for us, it might look different. Like you could imagine a ghost being your internal character, or it doesn't have to be even human. It could be like a parrot in a sense. But once you have that image of this parrot speaking to you, now it doesn't become this overwhelming thing of I myself. It's like mind over mind, right? It becomes a lot more of an externalization instead of an internalization. So yes, we do have an internal self or an inner person.
So is it like me talking to the parrot, or I am the parrot?
That's the thing. So it's like the parrot is also you, but you're externalizing the parrot to be able to understand your own mind better, in a sense. So it's both.
Like in movies that we see, there's this, the black dress wearing bad self and the white dress wearing good self, and they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
And the person is trying to decide.
And sometimes they play tug of war, and they just have to drop the rope, in a sense, But yeah, in a sense, in terms of the case studies, Uh, yeah, there's lots of different types of case studies. I mean, lots of different examples. I can go through a few of them. Like, for instance, can't find the meaning of life, lacks confidence, afraid will not be loved, needs a reality check, panic attacks at night. So I've really gone into very specific scenarios and how TPM techniques or tools can help.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
So I think TPM, it doesn't need any more explanation. People are already into it because this is what we want, we need right now. But what's your next plan? Like, what's the future plan? What are we getting next?
Right. So I was thinking of actually hosting a lot of events and also a lot of seminars and workshops where I could actually practically show you how you can use, this method, the theatroplasticity method. And also, I think that I would also want to train people to be TPM facilitators or practitioners. So let's say you're a yoga teacher, right? And you want to use TPM in your yoga practice, or you're a ski instructor who wants to use that in your, skiing practice. Like, you can be able to use this applied approach of using these tools to better, understand the different, students that you're working with, or, even in school settings, teachers can apply this in classrooms. So I think there's a lot of possibility for this book to be used as a modality. And right now I'm just sort of, envisioning it, chipping away at it, trying to find the right, things that are going to unfold from it. So, yeah.
Okay, so I have this very interesting question where Anjana Bhadro, she says the role of TPM in behavioral management, especially in autism for children. Do you think it could help for autism in children?
I think it can be used as a supplement, but I don't think it can be used as a main approach in a sense, because that is something, very psychiatrically based. I feel like it's much more of a severe...
There's a whole process that has been developed.
Right, and it can be used, I'm sure it can be used as an extra element of that, and it can be used as a supplementation or an add-on to approaching behavioral management theory, for sure. Yeah, great question.
Yeah,
I like that.
A very, very different question. Here is Joe Nicasio who says, how can TPM help people become more organized instead of scattered? So he's basically saying many people are scattered and multidimensional, but the same energy of a laser beam is the same energy of a light bulb. So that's how he's describing how to get people more organized.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, Joe's my business coach. He's helped me kind of formulate the Flow Zone Academy, and he's really amazing, trailblazer. So thank you, Joe, for that question. Yeah, I think that it's very, very important to be able to have that sense of flow state or focus. So what this technique can do is it can give you a sense of guidance and direction in terms of creating rituals that can actually help you throughout your day. So a lot of people right now, their timelines and their, schedules have been messed up. It's like, what are we doing with our work life, home balance, all this kind of stuff, right? And so what TPM can help you with is like to plan out exactly like your life script, as I mentioned earlier. So Act 1, Scene 1, I get up in the morning. Act 1, Scene 2, I have a cold shower.
We are sitting at the beach.
And we're sitting at the beach. We are actually.
We are actually sitting at the beach.
We are actually at the beach. This is not wallpaper.
Yeah, we are wearing informal clothes also. Almost summer cool clothes. So no pandemic or no pandemic, we are like happily having a nice tour. Okay, so there is this question: do you believe that society pressure is the main cause behind depression? Whatever is the cause of depression, your personal issues or society, he is here to cure it with TPM. Right?
Now, when I say this, I don't want to sound very reductionist or insensitive in any way. But this is the way that I approach it because I love words, guys. I love etymologies and linguistics and words. Like, that's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm a rapper as well, so I go deep into the rabbit hole of words, okay? So depression, deprimere in Latin means to push something down, right? To depress something. And the opposite of that would be exprimere, which is to express yourself, to squeeze something out, to share it with the world, right? So in a sense, when people start to suppress their feelings, when they go much more internally, when they start to become in a sad state, they start to create it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if you listen to sad music, and if you're staying in the dark, and you're staying with your head down, you are putting yourself in a perpetual sad state, and it's very difficult to break the record, to scratch the record of that repeating itself, right? And so what I would really advise, people who are facing depression is share your secrets, share the things that are just, urging for you to express itself, really be able to journal or start a creative activity, something that can help you to write down your thoughts and be able to differentiate whether this is a story or this is the fact.
True.
Right? So we have a lot of cognitive distortions in depression. It's like black and white thinking, or a lot of this kind of stuff. So when we can start to explore our own mind and understand ourselves better, have self-awareness with self-facility, it's like, depression becomes this,
because
this process.
That was also a question. Do you believe this was society's pressure? The other question was that, according to you, what is the best way to fight from depression and how to strengthen our mental health? Apeksha Das says.
Right. What's the best way to fight depression? How to strengthen our mental health? Yeah. So as I mentioned, there is a very, very severe, manic depression where, you have a chemical imbalance in the brain, and, TPM isn't primarily used for that in this kind of case, right? So it would be used in a mild case of depression in a sense, because a lot of the times, we're not really sure what's going on, and so when we can spot it and really understand it without the label, then we can start to explore it and unravel it even more, and so it's really important to, first of all, explore what actually do you mean by depression, right? Because is it the clinical case, or is it that you're feeling depressed and sad, right? There are very two big differences there, right? So we want to first of all make that difference. And also, do you believe that society's pressure is the main cause behind depression?
You answered that already before this,
certainly. There's a lot of social pressure, social conditioning that's getting people. I had this interesting exercise. I went to University of, I believe it was San Diego, and the theater practitioner there, he had this exercise where he told the students to act like how society wants you to act and be portrayed. And everybody was walking with their head down and really smaller versions of themselves, or like exaggerating their worst version of themselves. And then they were told to act like who you really are. And you wouldn't believe the shift. People were like walking like kings and queens, and like, their whole energy shifted and changed in a sense. So it's so important that one mental shift can just, get you from breakdown to breakthrough.
That one mental shift, that's very important. We are ardently looking forward for an open session about your flow state in relation to TPM, obviously with a workshop, says Shopneel Chatterjee. Yes, he's already mentioned that he is he's planning to conduct workshops very soon. So keep an eye on his Insta page as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Huh?
Yeah, at Flowzone Academy, that's my Insta page, yeah.
Okay, so can you repeat your Insta link once again?
Yeah, sure. It's Flowzone Academy. That's FLOZ or Z, wherever you are. ONE Academy. So all together, okay? And also, you can always email me at flowzoneacademy@gmail.com.
Could you type it here so that people can get the idea?
I could do that.
Because the flow doesn't have a W.
Right. That's a good distinction.
Because I think your Insta page is also very motivating. As it's for certain people, it's very important to wake up in the morning, because when people are like, even mildly depressed, it's not a chemical, danger going on there. Still, at times we just feel like getting up and then not, getting out of the bed, because, it's kind of a depression. It's kind of, you don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
But I think his page is very motivating.
All right, so we're gonna now, I believe, hand it over to Story Mirror. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Story Mirror. That's been really sweet of you, the way you started the session also. Thank you so much.
Yeah. handing it over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such an interesting conversation. Thank you, Anurima, for doing it so well, and many congratulations to you once again.
Thank you.
So the book is now available online, and the link has been mentioned in the chat box. So please get your copies soon. Once again, many congratulations to you, sir. It was an honor to have you both here. Thank you for this evening, and thank you everybody for joining us. All the best for your future writing endeavors. We wish you all the luck from the bottom of our heart. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep writing and stay safe. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. And we are still.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, and bye bye.
And
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so
bye,
much.
guys.
Done?
Yeah.
So we are still on with our Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And we have got a comment. Azaria King says, can't wait until my book arrives. I already got my book. And let me make you jealous. What's written inside? It's written, Dear Anurima, thank you for being the best version of you as an anchor. All the best. The psychologist has already inspired me and made me feel out of depression. Thank you. So, Shubhrata Sardar says, congratulations. Thank you so much. And okay, so we really hope that you enjoyed this amazing session. If you guys have any questions, you can come up with right now. Otherwise, I think we more or less, covered every aspect that's in the book, and the rest is for you to explore. And I personally, as a normal crazy person that my mom calls me, and I'm not, you will, I'm sure he will assert that I'm not crazy, I'm normal, right?
Crazy and genius are fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do is that this book is available definitely on Amazon
and Story Mirror, yeah.
And Story Mirror, yeah. Amazon and Story Mirror.
I'm sure it'll be available more right, on Flipkart and all these other areas. So,
yeah.
Let's see.
So,
yeah, and if you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me an email or leave a comment, leave a like,
You can leave a comment or a like and ask questions. And in the meantime, why don't you leave your Insta handle link right?
Yes, absolutely. We'll do that right now.
So guys, I think Sumed is more active on Insta.
Yeah.
Right?
True, I didn't do an IG live actually, but then that's temporary. This lasts, This is long lasting. So yeah.
Yeah, in India we are still more in love with Facebook, and Insta comes next. So thank you all of our Facebook friends for being with us. That was very sweet of you. This is Anchor Anurima signing off for the evening, and this is the wonderful psychologist who is never gonna sign off because he is always here to make you feel good. And the first step that he has taken is by publishing his book TPM, which is Theatroplasticity Method. Waiting for the next and waiting for much more, much more light to be put on the content that he has to deliver to us. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
And may the flow be with you. Thank you guys.